him on the show next week. Thank you for joining us, Kai. We're not even going to go to break. We're going to run this through because I want to bring on a prisoner of the metal snake. This is Chris Daly of Hip for Kids. He was supposed to be here a little earlier, but for whatever reason, he's just showing up. I want to give him some airtime because you guys have to hear, and this ties into what Jen was talking about youth nutrition. This is something that Michael West speaks to all the time, that he has students in his classroom who are limited in their learning capacity and capabilities simply because they're not nutritionally well. And so I understand that our kids have to deal with not just the mental, i.e. the learning, not just the spiritual, i.e. the soul and what they're getting in our communities and in too many of their homes, but also the body. The body is your temple. And we have to instill in our young people healthy eating, healthy nutrition. And so Chris Daly represents another wonderful nonprofit that is in the New York City school system and is dedicated to educating parents and children on the fundamentals and ongoing importance of healthy eating and good nutrition. I'm not going to keep reading from your brochure because I sound like a bad record, but welcome to our communities, our children, Chris, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, and I'm sorry to be late, but your reading was fantastic. Too many people have not seen this. We operate on such a very small budget, but I am the founder and temporary executive director, and we've been in New York City working in the 5 boroughs, except for Staten Island.
We're going to crack that nut real soon, man.
We're going to try to crack that, yes. And we are currently working in Harlem. We've been doing a lot of work in Harlem for many, many years. As I said, 11 years we've been doing the programming. I founded Hip for Kids 12 years ago to combat childhood obesity and type 2 diabetes. And as our mission statement, which you read part of, basically says, one cannot do anything well, in our opinion, if one has not eaten well. Currently, a program that we're doing in Harlem, we have finally broken ground to where Hip for Kids is a 4-credit course. Basically, I'll give you an idea, and hopefully I can come back.
You're going to have to come back because I know
a nutritious meal food budget that we taught the children to put together, 60 students, cost $40. So if anyone has the wherewithal to visit www.hip, the number 4, kids.org, they will be able to see what we have done for many years. It's a very modest site, does need updating, but in any event, 11 years of community service. I'm very, very proud of it. A lot of it here in Brooklyn.
Let's talk about the specifics of your program, because the flyer does say that you're doing all of these incredible things. I want to focus on your foremost thrust in terms of sharing the fundamentals and ongoing importance of good eating, healthy eating, and nutrition with our listeners.
Yes.
Talk to us about what your program looks like in the schools, because I'm going to tell you right now, I know some of the junk that they're serving in schools. I wouldn't feed my child. I wouldn't even eat when my belly's growling. And so, I want to know, what are you doing in the schools? And I want to make sure that our principals and our assistant principals and our folks at the Department of Education are listening to what Chris has to say.
Well, first of all, I don't want to, assault anyone in schools, cafeterias. They do try very, very hard, and we're working with a great, bunch of people at this point. But one of the founding perspectives, if you will, of Hip for Kids has always been that if a child, if a student, no matter the age, does not eat well, healthy food, there's no way that you're going to apply yourself in school. With, this in mind, one of the things we have with our 9th format, we have 8 formats we have offered over 11 years. Our 9th is in pilot right now, and the hope is to spread this nationwide, especially via a publishing type of project that we will offer over the website. Teachers will access it free.
So it's a curriculum?
Correct, yes. Yeah, we co-developed through a curriculum key in a project design that I created through working with the teachers in the school, a 4-credit system where we cover X amount of subjects that relate directly to the food, which takes the children, the students I should say, they're young people, on a journey through, if it's apples, well, the entire transformation of New York City. Where did its economy start? Were the Dutch here first, or were the British here? what is the social importance of all that has evolved in this city with so many different people contributing to the growth of this city for years and years and years. So it becomes, an exercise in culture. This is all for credit. It becomes an exercise in math, history, science, as it relates down to biology. Well, does anyone know that one of the main points of commerce for the New World, when it was founded, the Dutch created their very first own breed of apple in Queens to sell, and that was our first means of commerce in New York. So it takes the young people, the students, through this 90 minutes of for-credit coursework, and the recipe that we decided on was whole wheat pancakes with apples and honey syrup, for instance. And the children get a recipe, which basically, no pun intended, boils down to they hands-on cook the recipe themselves and then eat their product.
That's phenomenal.
In the classroom?
No, the kitchen is made available for us in the school.
Gotcha.
And what we are doing, what we were seeing, probably about another 14 requests from amount of schools, or 14 schools, pardon me. And the pilot has only been going for 4 weeks.
Okay.
So basically what we are doing is showing, and the Thomas Grabsky, for instance, MS 45 in Harlem, East Harlem, what an incredible forward-looking guy. He was the first principal to give the nod for us to try this pilot that we have been trying to push through with schools for years. We, as I said, we do 8 other formats that we've been doing in the community for over a decade, and not much of a budget, but we get our message out year after year, and very, very proud of it.
Well, I'm proud to know again that there's wonderful souls like you. And you talked about working out of Spanish Harlem. I love my chuletas, man. I love my fried plantanos. I love my rice and beans. But one of the things we have to begin to understand is that we have some inherent cultural eating habits that are not completely healthy. Okay? And this is not just true of Latin America. This is true of all of us, regardless of where you come from. We tend to eat the stuff that and especially as a child, I think it's even more vital. We tend to eat the stuff that we like and sort of pass the spinach and the peas to the dog under the table, right? And what I found is, again, if we can begin to instill healthier eating habits in our children at a younger age, okay, so it's not just about high school, sure, it's very vital, but I'd love to see this in 2nd and 3rd grade, ideally, before the arteries harden and before they become conditioned to having the Slim Jim and the can of ginger ale before they head to school every morning. It's really important that we reach out and teach our children how to eat healthy, how to live healthy, how to, ideally, I think ancillary benefit is to learn better if they're nutritionally balanced. That's so important. So what I'm going to do, Chris, because I know we've just scratched the surface, we have to get you back on the show. And I'm going to ask that you leave an hour earlier so that you can make it closer to 8 than 9. But I really do I want to thank you for taking the time to come out and showing up tonight, because what you have to say is, again, very vital and valuable to our communities and our children.
Thank you so much.
Kai, I'm also going to have you back, and we're going to bring some of the young men, or at least one of the young men that you've worked with in terms of doing the good work that you do.
Absolutely.
So we can hear it from our young people's perspective.
I think it would be better. I think it would be better.
We talk too much. I talk too much.
Yeah, you heard enough from me. Let's hear it from the people whose lives were affected.
On that note, Mr. West, will you please share with us your final thoughts and close out the show?
Well, Confucius said, if you plan for a year, you plant rice. If you plan for 10 years, you plant trees. If you plan for 100 years, you educate children.
Good night. God bless.